Werewolf here. Savage says there are no winners in the Civil War. Now, this book from 2014 about the Obama era is even more relevant under Biden and what is going on today than when Dr. Savage written it. It's uncanny. He begins talking about the invasion of the southern border, which includes bringing previously eradicated diseases into our country. It goes into detail about the deliberate weakening of the US dollar to weaken the middle class, the infiltration of leftist propaganda into our education system, the gouging of middle class jobs, the government media complex pushing racial division, and even the invasion of Ukraine, referring to the 2014 invasion. His thesis is that the American population is purposely being weakened while the government and its agency over us is purposely being strengthened, often in ways that go unnoticed. He compares and contrasts in his book some of these less commonly discussed political elements with elements of the American Civil War. The book describes perfectly what is going on today, and now Savage emphasizes that his book is called Stop the Coming Civil War, not Start It. I know a lot of guys on the right, or at least on the internet, on the right, have this fantasy of a new civil war because they think, given their hobbies like weapons, the outdoors, knowledge of survival, that they'll easily be the ones marching to victory. But Savage predicts the opposite, that the left wants a civil war and that they've been preparing for this for a long time through the deep state, through government agencies, and they want a civil war that they can easily suppress as a distraction and an excuse to further take away your rights, and making you increasingly subservient to the government and at their mercy. And at the end of the book, he offers what he sees as a few peaceful solutions that we should get started on, avenues which are currently being underutilized or neglected, that can stop all this before it becomes a nightmarish reality. Now, he talks about how the Obama administration provoked the invasion of the southern border with such actions as advertising food stamps in Mexico to entice immigrants. Everything you'll find in this book is no different from what's going on today under Biden, just that it's going on in a much more accelerated manner. Now, I know a lot of right-wingers today assume that in the event of another civil war that the military would be on our side. But Savage points to, under Obama, the systematic firing, the purging of right-leaning, level-headed generals and higher-ups so they could be replaced with Obama administration appointees that would bow down to the globalist leftists. Now look at what's gone on under Obama. Here Savage concludes that this is in preparation for a civil war so that the military higher-ups could be turned against its own citizens. Now, he addresses another obscure issue which I find particularly disturbing, that is the arming and ammunition purchases by government agencies such as the Department of Social Security and the IRS, things that have nothing to do with our defense or criminal investigations. He talks about how the IRS essentially turned itself into a spy agency and how it was used to shut down the Tea Party populist movement. To further weaken and effectively emasculate the average American, they attacked the education system with programs like Common Core and Obama's Race to the Top initiative, which provided funding but had all sorts of strings attached. And increasingly, the federal government had gotten involved in the school system. Grades, reading levels, career prospects have gotten exponentially worse. The cost of college tuition has exponentially increased, and much like what they did to the military, they intimidated investigated and purged as many traditionalist professors as they could to replace them with leftist, Marxist-leaning types. What's more, the Obama administration accelerated the exportation of middle-class jobs overseas. So, now when you get out of college, it's even tougher for you to find a decent-paying job in your major so that you can afford the American dream. Now, Savage notices parallels to the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln, he maintains, did a lot of good and deserves the praise that he receives, but had a dark side, which is less commonly discussed, authorizing many war crimes. He suspended the writ of habeas corpus, arrested thousands of civilians loyal to the South, many were non-combatants, many of which he oversaw the torture of at Fort Leavenworth. And there was, of course, the burning of cities such as Georgia. Savage draws the parallels to today's weaponization of the IRS and other agencies. The NASA spy agency, not NASA, the NSA spy agency. And as for the South, desperate to fund their war effort, they continuously printed money such that it had almost no value towards the end. And he goes into detail about Federal Reserve Chairwoman Janet Yellen, who's now Biden's treasurer, introducing all these new policies like buying up worthless debt that inflated our currency, even the price of gold. Look at the prediction that he made back in 2014 and look at what it is now. There's a lot you can find in the book. Now, Savage's conclusion is that we need to undermine the next Civil War peacefully before it happens by becoming more politically active. The Republican Party, he says, though less than desirable, is the only opposition party that we have right now. We need to find and back the populist candidates. Third party, mathematically says at this point, is no option. I might make another video going into more specifics of the book in the meantime, and I suggest you check it out. I highly recommend his radio show. Now, one thing to note, in recent years, the show has been becoming increasingly difficult to find. The show is changing times on radio stations. Not too long ago, it was cut back from 3 hours to 1 hour. And then at a certain point, the other 2 hours could only be found on the app. So he lost a lot of the boomer following of his audience, and he became somewhat bitter, too, being cut down to 1 hour. It almost seems like that may have been intentional, but check him out and draw your own conclusions. Thank you for watching. Hey, if you liked my content, be sure to subscribe. I will make more videos. Until next time, life, liberty, and the pursuit of